Okay, today we're starting to work on changing decimals to fractions and fractions to decimals and mixed numbers into decimals, and we'll get into fractions, decimals, and percents and all that. But today the first thing we're going to do is work on changing decimals into fractions, which is the easiest of all of those to do. So first thing that we're going to do is look over at a place value chart, because the place value, when you see a decimal written inside of this place value chart, it's pretty easy to change it into a fraction, because if you look at this chart right here, you have tenths is going to be, this is actually incorrect here, tenths will be 0.1, not 0.01, but so I'll scratch that out and fix it. A tenth is 0.1, and it'll equal 1 over 10. A hundredth is 0.01, and it's 1 over 100. So a thousandth is 0.001, and it's 1 over 1,000. So if I have the number 0.23, we know from the IXL lesson we did yesterday, that's called 23 hundredths. So the 2 is going to go here, bring our decimal down, and then the 3 will fall here. So that's 23, and then whatever area it ends in is how we say it. So it's 23 hundredths. Alright, so if we have a different one, if it's 0.5, 0.5, so that's going to be 5, and then the last one falls in the tenths place, which it can be written as 5 over 10, because it comes into this area right here. The last one would have been 0.23, and it falls in, the last one falls in the category of the hundred, so it would have been 23 hundredths. So right now we're looking at these and they're not reduced. This one can't be reduced, but this one can. So if it asks for it in simplest form, we got to give it to them in simplest form. 5 will go into both of these, reducing it down to 1/2. Alright, if we have 2.32, so put it on the place value chart, the decimals here. Put our 2 on the left side, and then 3, 2. It ends in the hundredth spot. So anything to the left of the decimal is going to be your whole number. So this is going to go from 2.32 into a mixed number that is 2 and a fraction. So the decimal is going to represent a fraction. Everything on the right side of the decimal represents a fraction. Everything on the left side of the decimal represents a whole number. So the left side of the decimal is going to be over here as the whole number when you're dealing with a fraction. So you got 2, and then you got 32 over, and it falls in the hundredths place, which is over 100. So 32 over 100. Now 2 you can't mess with, but 32 over 100 can be reduced down. I can look at it and see that 2 will go into both of them. So I can take this fraction away, and I'll end up putting it back with 2 for the answer. So 32 over 100 divided by 2 over 2. 2 will go into 32 16 times. 2 will go into 100 50 times. Well, they're still even numbers, so that's still reducible. So they will still be reduced by 2 again. 16 over 50 divided by 2 over 2. It's going to give me 8 over 25, and that is reduced down, so I'm going to put it back with 2. So 2, and my reduced fraction is 8 over 25. So that gives us a start, and I will do a few more as well. If I have 0.33, I can put it on here. The decimal's right here. 0.33, and it's going to be 33 over, and it falls in this place here, so it's 100. 33 over 100. This is not reducible, so that's immediately my answer. If I have 0.4, it's going to go in here as well. 0.4. It ends in the tenths place, which is over 10. So it's going to be 4 over 10. 4 and 10 can be reduced by 2 over 2. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 10 divided by 2 is 5. So my answer for that, 0.4 as a reduced fraction is equal to 2/5. And 0.33 is equal to 33 over 100. Alright, we'll do another one. We have 2.75, so we'll put it, and we're at equals to up here, and we'll bring the answer back up here to show that 2.75 is equal to something with a fraction. It's actually going to be a mixed number. So we have 2.75, so it's going to be 2 and 75 hundredths. So when you say it, it's easier. 75 hundredths, so we have 2 and, here's the fraction bar, 75 over 100. That's how you get hundredths as fractions. So 2 and 75 hundredths. 75 over 100 can be reduced down. So we'll pull it away from 2 for a second and do 75 over 100. 25 will go into both of these. 25 will go into 75 3 times. 25 will go into 100 4 times. So the reduced down fraction is 3/4, so it's going to be 2 and 3/4. So we come back up here. 2.75 is equal to 2 and 3/4. That's the reduced version. But when you write it to begin with, to start reducing it, you write it how it sounds as a decimal. So if you can say it, you can do it. So when you say 2 and 75 hundredths, that tells me it's 2 and 75 over 100. If it's 3.4, the way you say that in decimal word form is 3 and 4/10. So 3.4 is going to be 3 and 4/10. And then we reduce down the 4/10 by 2, and it's going to come to 3 and 2/5. So 3.4 is equal to 3 and 2/5 once it's reduced. But when you say it out loud to start with, before you do the reducing, you're going to write it as 3 and 4/10, 4 over 10. If it's thousandths, so if I have 2.321, it's going to be 2 and 321 thousandths. So I'm going to have 2 and 321 over 1,000. And this is not reducible, so that would be my answer. So 2 and 321 over, actually 1,000, I've left a 0 off, is equal to 2.321. Go back to my correction here. Alright, so I'll do 2 more for you, and this time I'm going to switch over to a blank page because you're not going to have that chart with you at your desk. So I'm going to say 0.45. This is where you've got to be able to say them without looking at the chart. So if I can look at it in decimal form, I put it in decimal word form. That's 45, and it falls into the hundredths place. It's going to be 45 hundredths. So I write it as 45 over 100. Now all I do is reduce it down. They end in a 5 and a 0, so they're reducible by 5. 45 divided by 5 is 9. 100 divided by 5 is 20. So my answer here, 0.45 as a fraction, is 9/20. You can do 0.6. This is 6, and it ends in the tenths place. So as we say this in decimal word form, it's 6/10. That equals 6 over 10. This is reducible by 2, so it's going to come down to 3/5. So 3/5 is equal to 0.6. If I do 2 and 2.8, that's going to be 2. The decimal says and, so it will be 2. The decimal becomes a fraction bar. 8/10, 8 over 10. We reduce 8 over 10 down by 2. So it's going to be 2 and 4/5 is equal to 2.8. Do one more. So if I have 2.28, remember the decimal means and it's also going to change to a fraction bar, so it's going to be 2 and 28 hundredths, so 28 over 100. Pull 28 over 100 down so we can reduce it. They're both even, so 2 will go into them. 28 divided by 2 is 14. 100 divided by 2 is 50. They're still both even, so I can reduce it by 2 again. 14 divided by 2 is 7. 50 divided by 2 is 25. And that is a reduced fraction all the way. So put it back with its whole number. It's going to be 2 and 7 over 25. So 2 and 7/25. So 2.28 is equal to 2 and 7/25. Alright, I'm going to give you a few example problems real quick to do. And if you get them correct after I work them out, you're going to work them out on your desk after I work them out, or before I work them out, and then you're going to check your work based on what I do and see how you do with it. If you get them correct, you can move on to the lesson. If you don't, you need to rewatch the video. Alrighty. So we'll just do 2 problems. We'll do 2.24, and we'll do number 2 will be 0.237. Alright, so you're going to pause the video and work both of these problems out, and then when you unpause the video you can check your work off of what I do. So pause the video now. Alright, at this time you should have worked out both of these problems. I'll start out by working number 2. It's going to be 2 and 24 hundredths. So the decimal becomes a fraction bar. Everything to the left of it is still a whole number, so 2. And my fraction bar, which is what my decimal became, and it's 24 hundredths, so it's 24 over 100. 24 over 100 can be reduced. It can be reduced by 4. 24 divided by 4 is 6. 100 divided by 4 is 25. So it's going to be 2 and 6/25 when we put the whole number back with the fraction. That's our answer there. So 2.24 is equal to 2 and 6/25 as a reduced mixed number. This one here, 0.237, the last digit ends in the thousandths place, so it's going to be 237 thousandths. So I just write that as 237 over 1,000. And if you couldn't get any further with this one, you're correct, because that's as far as it goes. It's not reducible, so 0.237 as a reduced fraction is 237 over 1,000. Alright, at this time, if you completed both of these and you feel comfortable with it, you can start your IXL lesson. If you don't, rewatch the video to get more help with it. If you need help during the IXL lesson, you can refer back to the video or raise your hand for help. Good luck.